A reindeer in Siberia is eating a mushroom off the ground. Not because it's hungry, it just ate. It's doing it deliberately, seeking it out. And when it's done, it starts walking in circles, making strange sounds, completely disconnected from reality. This isn't a weird exception. This is documented behavior. And it's not just reindeer. Dolphins pass a pufferfish between each other, not to eat it, to get high from its toxins. Then they float near the surface, staring at nothing. Elephants travel miles out of their way to find fermented fruit. Jaguars eat psychoactive vines. Horses seek out loco weed, even when it's clearly making them sick. And here's the question nobody asks. If animals across every continent, across millions of years of evolution, all independently discovered how to alter their own consciousness, what does that tell us about ourselves? Stay with me, because the answer doesn't just explain animal behavior. It reveals something fundamental about why the human brain works the way it does. Here's what scientists assumed for decades. Animals that seek out intoxicants are doing it by accident. Wrong plant, wrong place. Confused instincts, wrong. The more researchers studied it, the more they realized this behavior is deliberate, intentional, repeated, sought out specifically for the effect it produces. And that changes everything. Because if animals actively seek altered states of consciousness, then this isn't a mistake of evolution. It's a feature of it. Let's start with the most documented case, Siberian reindeer and the fly agaric mushroom, the red and white one you've seen in fairy tales. Reindeer don't accidentally eat these. They smell them under the snow and dig specifically to find them. They guard them from other reindeer. They fight over them. And the shamans who lived alongside these reindeer for thousands of years noticed something extraordinary. The reindeer would urinate after eating the mushroom, and that urine still contained the psychoactive compounds. So the shamans started collecting it. Let that sink in for a moment. This is not a modern discovery. This is ancient knowledge, passed down through generations, that animals and humans figured out together around the same fires in the same frozen landscape. The reindeer weren't copying humans. Humans were learning from the reindeer. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. And I need you to pay close attention to this next part. Across every continent on Earth, completely isolated from each other, different animal species independently discovered the same thing. Monkeys in Costa Rica eat millipedes. Not for food. Millipedes are toxic. They rub them on their fur. The chemicals repel insects, but they also produce a mild euphoric effect, and the monkeys clearly enjoy it. African elephants seek out the marula fruit, not when it's fresh, when it's fallen and fermenting on the ground. They eat massive quantities. They sway. They become uncoordinated. They seek it out again the next season. Australian wallabies eat opium poppies in poppy fields, then hop in circles until they collapse. This has become such a documented problem that Australian farmers have reported it for decades. Cats, your house cat, goes absolutely insane for catnip. Not because it tastes good, because nepentolactone, the active compound, binds directly to their feline opioid receptors and produces something very close to a sexual euphoric response. Every single one of these animals evolved on a different continent. They never met. They never communicated. They never learned from each other. And yet, they all arrived at the same conclusion. Certain plants and substances can change the way the brain feels, and that change is worth seeking out. Now here's the question that should stop you cold. If this behavior appears in mammals across every continent, independently, consistently, deliberately, then it didn't evolve separately each time. It was already there, built into the mammalian brain before any of these species existed. Scientists call it the psychoactive seeking hypothesis. The idea that the drive to alter consciousness isn't a flaw in animal psychology. It's a deeply ancient feature of it. And here's why that matters for us. Humans didn't invent the desire to get high. We inherited it from something that existed long before we were human. Now let me bring this to ancient humans, because this is where the story gets personal. The earliest archaeological evidence of humans using psychoactive substances goes back at least 12,000 years. But that's just what survived. Stone, bone, residue in ancient vessels. The real number is almost certainly much older. Here's what we know. Every single human civilization ever discovered, without exception, used some form of psychoactive plant or substance. Everyone. The ancient Egyptians used blue lotus flowers in ritual ceremonies. The Greeks used ergot, a fungus that grows on grain. In the Eleusinian Mysteries, the most sacred religious ritual of the ancient world, indigenous peoples across the Americas used peyote, ayahuasca, psilocybin mushrooms. Cultures in Asia used cannabis. Cultures in Africa used ibogaine. There is not a single documented human civilization that didn't do this. And that's not a coincidence. Because here's what altered states of consciousness actually do. From a neurological perspective, they disrupt default mode network activity, the part of the brain that runs your constant internal monologue, the voice that plans, worries, replays memories, imagines futures. When that network goes quiet, even briefly, the brain makes connections it normally never makes. Different regions that don't usually communicate suddenly talk to each other. For ancient humans sitting around a fire, this wasn't recreation. This was technology, a way to think differently, solve problems differently, see patterns that normal consciousness misses. Some researchers believe that psychedelic experiences may have directly contributed to the explosion of symbolic thinking in humans around 50,000 years ago. Cave paintings, abstract art, complex ritual, the sudden leap from surviving to meaning-making. We don't know for certain, but the timing is striking. Now think about what this means practically for ancient humans. A group of early humans sitting around a fire 40,000 years ago. One of them has eaten something that makes the world look different, makes patterns visible that weren't visible before, makes connections between ideas that normally wouldn't connect. And around that same fire, someone draws the first animal on a cave wall. Someone figures out that certain plants heal wounds. Someone invents the first ritual that binds the group together. We assume these leaps happened because of intelligence, because of bigger brains. But what if the brain needed something to unlock what was already inside it? What if altered states of consciousness weren't just a side effect of ancient life, but one of the tools that built it? This isn't a fringe theory anymore. Researchers at Johns Hopkins, NYU, and Imperial College London have spent decades studying what psychedelics actually do to the brain, and what they found is remarkable. They don't add anything new. They remove the filters. The human brain is constantly suppressing information, filtering out most of what it perceives to focus on what's immediately useful. Psychoactive compounds temporarily disable those filters. For a few hours, the brain sees more, connects more, feels more. For ancient humans with no books, no schools, no accumulated knowledge, sitting in the dark with predators outside and uncertainty everywhere, that temporary expansion of perception wasn't just pleasant. It may have been survival. And here's the final piece that will completely change how you see this. The compounds that produce these effects in the human brain, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, they exist in us for completely different reasons. Dopamine evolved to reward-seeking behavior. Find food, find water, find shelter. But certain plants hack that system. They trigger the reward without the behavior. They make the brain feel like it found something without finding anything. And the brain remembers that feeling. This isn't weakness. This isn't a moral failure. This is the oldest trick in the book. Plants using animal brains to spread their seeds, attract pollinators, or protect themselves from being eaten. You aren't seeking the high. The plant evolved to make you seek it. The reindeer in Siberia, the dolphins with the pufferfish, the wallabies in the poppy fields, the humans around the fire. We're all running the same ancient program, installed millions of years before any of us existed. So next time, you wonder why humans are drawn to things that alter how they feel. Remember, you didn't develop that instinct. You inherited it from every mammal that came before you, from the first creature that stumbled into the wrong plant and felt something shift in its brain and thought, I want to feel that again. That's exactly what we're covering next week. What else ancient humans inherited that still runs in your brain today? If you want to know, you know what to do.